Alright, we're at Mount Olympus, and we're doing some deadlifts. So, it's pretty much like the end of a squat is the position you want to start in. Toes could be neutral or like a little pointed out. I just do neutral usually, shoulder width apart, stance. Definitely want to put your hands a little outside than shoulder width, or I mean, at least that's what I aim for. Like squat down, back flat, head up if you want, or like they were talking about just straight forward, and then down, control, or you can dump it. But we're gonna talk about like joint movements and all that stuff too. So that was pretty much traditional 1-rep deadlift.
The next one is a sumo deadlift. You have a wider stance. The feet pointed outwards. You want to have the bar up against your shins so that it travels straight up, straight down. And dip down like this. Look up. Squeeze your glutes to come up. Keep the bar like this. And then put it back down. Just keep the bar against your shins. You activate your lats by pulling it towards you. And that keeps the bar straight up and straight down in one plane.
And mainly, you're not going to see this sumo stance much outside of powerlifting. It's just a way to lift more weight for somebody who's built biomechanically different, usually lower limb people. You're going to activate, it activates a lot more of your hip abductors, so anything that brings the hips and knees out. And normally, like I said, people do it for just lower limb. Flexibility can be an issue just because it's such a wide stance and you're having to go so low with it. So that's a factor too. Next, I'm going to talk about grip differences. First, I'll talk about, and I'm only going to do all these from conventional deadlift. Conventional grip, over, under, or alternating. One hand forward, usually your dominant hand is pronated like this, and non-dominant hand is supinated like this. You just grab it, fingers first with thumb over it, and then fingers first with thumb over it this way. Most people learn deadlift with a grip this way. Only problems that you see with it is usually when the weight gets high enough, some people want to pull with their supinated hand. They want to pull, they want to activate that bicep while they're pulling, and you can see bicep tears or bicep tendon rupture. Next grip is going to be a stronger grip, it's a hook grip, so both hands are pronated like this, and what you do is first you wrap the thumb under the bar and then lock it with 4 fingers. So it's a much stronger grip because you have 4 fingers locking one thumb versus one thumb trying to hold 4 fingers. The only problem you usually see with this is it takes lifters a while to get used to this because the bar is, the whole weight is resting just on this one thumb, so you get a lot of swelling, tenderness in the first couple of months, even some skin tearing. But after a while, a large callus will begin to form on it, and you lose some feeling in it. But then the third grip is just it's the same grip. It's just not hooked. You're just holding just a thumb over 4 fingers, and this normally is just an accessory grip to a deadlift, just to work the grip, just because it's the weakest of all 3 grips.
All right, so now we're going to talk about more muscle activation and your joint flexibility. So ideally, you want both your knees and your hip joints to be in full extension at the same time. So throughout the concentric motion, you're going to want to come up here and activate your quads. The activation of your quads is going to flex your knees, and the activation of your hamstrings is going to flex your hips. So ideally, you want to hit them at the same time. Sometimes you'll see people activating their quads too soon, and they'll get full knee extension before they get hip extension, and that's when you go more into the RDL realm. But keeping them simultaneous will prevent one of the muscle groups from overloading. So again, with the knee extension first, you're going to see people go like this, and they're going to have a rounded back, which is going to put a lot of stress on their erector spinae. And another point I want to bring up is your stretch shortening cycle. You don't want to come up here and just explode right into a deadlift. That's going to put a lot of work and force on those tendons. So typically you'll see people get ready and they'll sit for just a brief second just to kind of make that muscle do the work and not the tendons. The more you avoid using the tendons for the work, the less injuries you're going to have.
And then over here, we're going to show a couple of variations of the lifts. These are mainly to work on either overloading the lift or working on the weak parts. So that if you have trouble in certain areas of the lift, these right here, box deadlifts, you're just shortening up range of motion, put more weight on, just to kind of overload. You can overload the central nervous system this way, but you're just picking it up from just a higher height. The same rules apply with this conventional or sumo as the others. And then the next is deficit lifts. So if you're weak, pulling off the floor, you'll stand on something, usually not something super high, just because if you get super high, you're just going to, the bar is essentially going to be on your feet. But usually a plate or two plates are high enough. And same rules apply here. You can actually get, actually get a little bit closer to you this way, but same rules apply here.
Another point we want to bring up is spotting. With deadlifts, you just don't want to spot. The best method is just the bailout method. Some people like to just drop the weight from the top. Others preach that you want to get the eccentric motion. I guess it's just preference. For 1MRs, typically you'll see people just drop it, but again, that's their preference.
And another thing, like wearing belts, same thing, like abdominal pressure, stability in the back, but again, it's all just personal preference of what you want to do and how much you're lifting.